And all right, so I'm here with Tobin from 610 Man. We would usually be here talking about Flatfoot 56, but you've got a new project out, 610, which is a bit more of an acoustic take on things. How have things been going with the project?
It's been awesome. It's been real exciting to explore some new ways of writing music, and it's been a real pleasure to see what people's response to it is. I mean, a lot of people are, usually when guys are in punk bands, they kind of expect nothing but wild and crazy and fast, and so to be able to put a record out that's a little bit more thought-provoking and a little bit more emotional, not like it doesn't sound right. It's one of those things where it's just more thought-provoking and deals with a bit more intense types of things. It's a surprise to see what people see, and so it's also neat to see the impact that that kind of music had as well. People focus way more on your lyrics than they do the riffs or the beat, and that's kind of nice to see as a songwriter.
Definitely. How did 610 come about? I mean, obviously there's the Flatfoot 56 song 610, and I would imagine the name of the band kind of stems from that originally. But how did everything come about?
Well, the band kind of started as a Flatfoot spin-off. Brandon and I, the mandolin player, we started playing some acoustic shows together at some different pubs. We'd go to Europe, and some of the pubs there are too small for a band the size of Flatfoot, so they'd have us do an acoustic set. And when Flatfoot started to not play as much, the other guys were like, you should go out and do some shows, and my brothers were like, you should call it 610, because that's, it's a creative way of naming it after kind of you, because you're 610, without saying, Tobin, Bawinkel, side project,
Right.
So, and I've never been a big fan of just having something named after me. I'd rather have a name to a band type thing going, so.
Right.
Yeah, so it worked out really good. I think I was excited to start stepping out and use songs that Flatfoot wasn't really using, lyrically. There's some songs I'd written that they were just like, this doesn't really fit with what we do and what we are. So I kind of kept them to the side and pulled them out, and able to use them where we're at now. So that's nice.
Awesome. Yeah, it's a great change of pace, because I mean, obviously with Flatfoot, everything's just so high energy, and there's not a lot of slowed down stuff on a lot of the Flatfoot material, and this is just the music is just so well done. It's just so beautiful in so many ways, and I absolutely love the album. I think I listened to it about 20 times since I've gotten it. It's just awesome. I know that on one of the Flatfoot albums you did I'll Fly Away, which was a staple of a lot of Flatfoot shows. On 610, on Humble Beginnings, you guys do It As Well, which is a great rendition of the hymn. How did you decide on that song, and what led you to decide to do a classic hymn on this record?
I think the 610 record kind of came at a point in my life where everything was falling apart. There was a lot of turmoil going on, and just the old was dying away, and a new season was coming, and it was a real scary time. And knowing the story behind it as well, Horatio G. Stafford, his story when he wrote that song was really helpful for me during that time, and it's a story of great loss and dealing with loss, but also just kind of relying on what the Lord provides during loss. There's a verse that says, that God is with the brokenhearted and the downtrodden, and so it was kind of it fit well with the lyrics of the album and kind of what I had been going through, and I just felt like it was time to do that. I've always loved it, but we had kind of messed around with it a little bit in our practice, and neat to have my little sister jump on with vocals, and so it was neat to kind of incorporate her. It was her first recording ever, and she's 16,
wow.
you know, and has more musical talent than all of us brothers combined. So it's one of those things that's neat to be able to encourage her in what she's doing, and yeah, I think it fit well. It isn't my personal favorite, like on how it turned out, but it sounds like a lot of people like it, so that's good.
Yeah, definitely. I was going to ask who the female vocalist was on that song. You answered right there. Her voice is just outstanding. It complements your voice so well, because you've got kind of that a little raspier voice on a lot of tracks, and it just complements you complement each other so well. Do you think you might do more?
Yeah, you get a little bit of that sweet and salty thing going on, you know. It's it's a good complimenting point, yeah.
Definitely, man. And how cool is it to have this record on vinyl? Because I saw the Facebook post that you got some vinyl copies of Humble Beginnings.
Well, I think the album cover is probably one of my favorite album covers I've ever been a part of. So really thankful for a buddy of mine from Pittsburgh had drawn a 4-paneled art piece for the wall at his church, and it was very similar to what this was, and I was like, you know, I love the way that looks, and so to be able to put that on a vinyl, which is bigger, and just has a better, you know, like presentation quality to it, is really neat, and it's really exciting to be able to offer that. Vinyl costs a lot to create, so it was kind of one of those, it was a double-edged sword, but it was definitely neat to be able to put it out and offer that, because the reality is this style of music sounds way better on vinyl in the first place, which is one of the reasons why we wanted to do it. And so, but it was interesting. It was very interesting. The guy who mastered the record, who we were really excited about, actually, he put the record out. He did all the mastering, did the vinyl mastering and the regular mastering, and about a few weeks after the album actually a few weeks before the album was about ready to come out, he passed away, and so it was really weird. We were just kind of like, no, you know, like, because he did such a great job,
right?
So we were really honored to be able to have him on, you know, have a piece of his legacy, a part of our project, you know. So
nice. And how did the Kickstarter? You guys use Kickstarter with it, and I saw the video. Part of it was you guys had to get your chests waxed at one point, which looked so painful.
What's up with that?
What's that?
Yeah. What was up with that? Yeah, that's kind of weird.
Right, that had to have hurt like a mother. Oh my God.
Well, what we did was we didn't expect. We expected our Kickstarter to, you know, make what we were originally asking for, which is about, you know, $7,000 to put out the record, and it just kept going. And when a Kickstarter keeps going, you have to come up with stretch goals, you know.
Right.
And one of them, we hit our first stretch goal, and we were like, man, what do we do now? And so, as a joke, I was like, well, why don't we just tell everybody we'll get our chest waxed? You know, we'll never reach that. You know, it'll be funny, and people get a kick out of it. And so, our bass player's diabolical wife, Lena, who's awesome, she's a total blessing to the band. She worked the internet for days just to get to that point, so that we had to do it. And it really was funny, and it was kind of a funny experience. And luckily, I had a buddy that edited it all together and did a great job editing it all. And we got the video that we put out for that. So definitely an interesting experience for sure. I don't know if I'll ever do it again, but some guys do it all the time. I don't get that though.
Yeah, you couldn't pay me enough to do that, because I mean, it always looks painful, and after watching that video, it just confirmed that it just looks a little too painful.
Yeah,
man. But I mean, with a record as personal as Humble Beginnings is, when the Kickstarter does as well as it did, what does that mean to you as an artist, when so many people are behind something like this that's as personal as it is?
It's really humbling. I think there's a lot of I don't know. I've kind of had the conversation with a few people of, you know, a lot of artists are really gung-ho about protecting their, you know, their creative rights and getting their royalties for everything, and that's definitely needed. And bands and artists need to be able to function and live so that they can continue to make good music. Mm-hmm. But one of the big things for me was to be able to have people be impacted by what was going on and to, in a way, redeem what I had gone through in a positive way and be able to relate to people in that place. It was also very therapeutic for me, too. I was kind of going through just some real rough betrayals and just going through some things that were difficult, and to be able to work it out. I talked to an old country singer-songwriter type of guy, and one thing he said really stuck with me. He said, sometimes you just got to get it out. Mm-hmm. And it was kind of, you know, a lot of those songs were written during the darkest days of my life, and so it was very, and I'm not just saying that to be cliche, they were really the darkest days of my life. And so, you know, just kind of documenting that journey and seeing what's going on and how it's been redeemed and how there's been a positive element. You know, I want to be a person whose life is lived not just for himself, but somebody that can relate to people and help them as they go through their difficult times. And I think that's one of the best compliments I can ever get is when somebody says, you know, that song really helped me get through some really dark times in my life. And that just, man, I could quit then at that point. You know, just I made it. I've arrived. You know,
right?
That's what it's about for me. So it's really neat to be able to be a part of that for sure.
Is it hard to go on stage and relive where certain songs came from when you're performing them and singing them again, or is it something that you have to disconnect yourself from in order to get through playing the song sometimes?
You have to disconnect yourself a little bit, I think. And sometimes it helps with expressing the emotion of the song in the first place. I mean, yeah, anybody can write a sad song, but not everybody can perform a sad song and convince people of it. And the idea of the album is not to depress people at all. It's more along the lines of to encourage people as they go through a difficult time and show them that there's hope in the journey and there's hope at the end of it, which is definitely what my story was. It was very difficult, but then lately it's been really, life's gotten really, really good, and I've been really blessed, and that's an exciting thing. So there are some songs that I'm very particular on who will be able to play them with me. There's a song on there called Someday Hon that's just about a musician traveling, and I pretty much made it my mind early on that nobody that I'm ever in a relationship with will ever sing that song with me. I could have thought about, how a wife just saying, "Forget you, I'm leaving," right. And I'm just like, nah, I don't want to. It's not going to be. That's not what's going to happen here. So, but I do have a good friend, Hannah, who is our fiddle player. She does an amazing job performing that song. And it's kind of a fun, more of a tongue-in-cheek type of song anyway, so that's okay. But she's an amazing artist and sings really well for it. So.
Right. I was going to ask how, because you've done some 610 shows now. How have the shows been performing these songs and traveling with 610?
It's been really good. One of the real honors and privileges of being in 610 is to be able to play with all new guys. One of them being Earl Piper from Flatfoot, and it's been really neat to be able to play with him again. I miss him a lot. And so it's neat to give him another outlet and allow him to kind of just really use his gift again. But there's a lot of the guys in the band have a very strong, I'll give credit where credit's due. The guys in the band, and Michael, our bass player, is directly responsible for the quality of the recordings we did. He spent hours and hours and hours editing and mixing and he's a creative mind. I probably, as long as his time is available, would use him for any record I ever do, just because he has an ear and he creates, and he's a big part of the whole album sound, and so and he was kind of added to the band in kind of a fluke, not a fluke, but we all loved him, but we didn't know that he had any time to be in a band, and his wife came up to us and was just like, I know you're looking for a bass player, why don't you ask Michael? And we were just like, that's the best idea ever. Why didn't we think about that? I always assumed he was too busy working, and she's like, no, that's his life dream, is to be in a band, and he does it really well too. So
nice.
It works out good, but it's definitely, the shows have been going real well. The responses have been pretty sweet. Took us a little while to kind of get our sound together and figure out what we're going to do. Mm-hmm. But we had a great album release party in Lombard, Illinois, at the Brower House, and the turnout was great. And so we've been loving what we've been seeing so far.
Awesome. Is this 610 something that you're looking to do on a permanent basis? Because a lot of times, an artist will do, maybe, I hate the word side project, but a project outside of the band that they're in, and it's kind of a one and done or a couple albums thing and it's done. Is this something you're looking to do, a permanent thing?
I think, every band when you first started is kind of an experiment to see if it takes. Based on what I've seen, like I said, my biggest passion is to be able to have an avenue to be able to encourage people with music, and if that's happening with a band, then I'll keep it going as long as it needs to keep going. As it stands right now, Flatfoot's been playing a bunch, and we still play, but it's not going to be doing 280 shows like we had been doing. It's just too much. That was just too much, and there's too much of an overload. So, yeah, I think I'm pretty much addicted to being able to write a song without having to worry about whether it's punk rock or not. It's kind of a freeing thing, and it's really nice to be able to explore that. So I think 610 will be around for a while.
Awesome.
And I'm definitely going to have a lot of fun doing it. And I think one of the things that has made it more successful is that a lot of the Flatfoot fans have just grown up. We're all having kids now. There's a lot of, guys in their 30s, guys in their 40s now who are raising their kids, and they're putting on these records. And I think one of my long-term dreams is to be one of those albums, that have made one of those albums that kids can look back, much like I look back at my uncle's records or whatever, and seeing Johnny Cash records or the classic old country records that were always in your grandfather's collection. I would be honored to be able to be a part of some guy's collection that he still has sitting around for his kids to rediscover.
Nice. That will be my music collection, just so you know.
Yeah. Good.
Awesome.
Well, I knew I liked you.
Jungle of the Midwest Sea was the first Flatfoot album I got, and it's it's on my computer, on my shelf, and on my phone to this day, ever since I got it. And
that's awesome.
I remember I discovered Flatfoot at Cornerstone 2011, of all years, and fell in love with the band and went out and got everything I could. And
that's awesome, man.
Yes, and so
2011 was the last year, right?
It was 2011. 11 or 12. Yeah, 11 or 12 was. Yeah.
Was it pool party theme?
No, it was superhero themed, I think.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, that was Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That was a great year.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm raising my girl on rock, metal, and punk. So
good.
She will look back on all of this when I'm in my 50s and 60s, and she'll have some good music to grow up on. So
there you go.
But speaking of Flatfoot, I know you touched on it. I have to ask: what's going on with Flatfoot? Is there any new music coming in the foreseeable future, or are we just looking at a couple of shows here and there? I know you've got a St. Patty's Day show at Reggie's, I think in Chicago, coming up in March.
Yeah, we have a bunch of shows going on in March. We're going to Canada in April, and then we'll also be going to possibly going up to Alaska for the first time in our history.
Oh, nice.
Possibly in August. That's not been confirmed yet, but we've been talking about it. And then next September we'll be going out and playing a very community festival called, I believe, Shamrocks Fest out in California, which will include bands like the Real Mackenzies and a lot of the legendary Celtic bands. So we're excited to be able to go see a lot of our old friends
Awesome.
at that. And then next fall we'll be going to Europe for, I believe it's a 2-week trip, to kind of possibly be in Up Russia too. I'm not sure if that's going to happen, but so there's a lot of, as far as new music's concerned, we've talked about getting together and write some stuff. I think we have some riffs in, that we kind of have jammed out to this point, but it's a big undertaking to get everybody together in the same place. Justin, our drummer, moved to Indianapolis, and that's where he's at now. He's doing full-time school, so he comes and plays the shows that he can, and then we have a fill-in drummer that fills in on other shows that he can't play.
Okay.
But overall, it's definitely it's just an undertaking. I think a lot of the guys, our bass player Kyle just got married, and we're all very, and there's also 3 other bands that are connected to Flatfoot that are side projects going on currently, and everybody's been kind of just getting creative with the effort and desire of being able to bring more creativity back to Flatfoot when we do record some more. So, I don't want to promise anything new this year,
right,
but I wouldn't be surprised if something did come out.
Okay. Awesome. And finally, this is a question I always love to ask, because it's something that people can connect with so much, and especially coming off of a record as personal as Humble Beginnings. When you're going through just horrible, personal trials and tribulations, as a Christian and a man of God, how do you stay strong in your faith? And if you were to come across a fellow Christian or somebody who has left the faith, that has left or is struggling for those reasons, what advice would you give them?
I think, when you're going through the valley of the shadow of death, for lack of a better way of putting it, is very similar to drowning. You're kind of like, you're trying to reach for anything that can give you stability, anything that you feel can keep you from disintegrating as a person. And so I think a lot of times, and I'll be honest with you, I'm not a big drinker. I've never been a big partier. Never been more. I'm not a big fighter. Never been more tempted to do all of those things during that season. And it doesn't come natural to me. That stuff doesn't come naturally to me because it's just not something I've ever done. And one thing that I will say, and this is the biggest part, this might sound weird, but I had to go through a real questioning of the Lord, like, Lord, why is this happening? Like, what did I do to deserve this? And I think one of the things that really helps, and what I would tell people going through a difficult time is, in hindsight in my life, looking back at that season, there is no time in my life where I felt God closer and had more intimate times with Him than during that time. And I think it's very easy to turn and just say, God, you're the one that did this to me. You allowed these horrible things to happen. It's all your fault. And those questions can definitely come up. There were many days where I started to pray and I just screamed at God. I'm just like, I don't understand why this is happening. For those that have kind of walked away because of their circumstances or incidents, I just want to say, like, the Lord is the only reason why I'm still alive, and He's the only thing that gave me any kind of comfort. That He didn't leave me nor forsake me. The verse that God is with those the brokenhearted, with the down in spirit. That is 100% the truth. And the incident I went through is I came home from tour and my wife had completely left, and there was no. I literally talked to her twice, once on the phone and once in person before she divorced and ran off with an ex-boyfriend. And like, Lord, I did it your way. I did it the way you told me to. I didn't marry her. I was a virgin. I waited. All that stuff that we're told in church that you're supposed to do. And I said, I did it your way. I'm not perfect, but I did it your way. What the heck? And the Lord just kind of stood there and stayed in my presence, even as I sat there with my fist just pounding on his chest, and just asking these really hard questions. And in his silent solidarity with me, he proved himself faithful. And I think that's part of the album that's so much about the journey. It's so much, you've got to go through those elements of grief. You've got to go through the elements of asking the questions of why. The Bible's very clear, it rains on the just and the unjust. Life isn't fair. But what is promised to us, if we choose to accept it and hold on to it, is one of the greatest securities that we'll ever run into and know, and that's powerful and amazing love of Jesus Christ. And I think that's the thing that kept me going, is knowing I'm in real trouble here. There's been no times I've told the story. I just did an interview with Andrew Schwab from Project 86, and I told the story, and I was at a show for the first time in my life. I looked across the room and I saw a random person, just a dude, dancing at a show. And I just thought to myself, he looks like a jerk. I want to kill him. I just want to pound him. I just want to get into a fight and let out all of my rage. I'm not that person. This is not my nature. And at that point, the Lord just kind of quickened in my heart, and he just said, you've been in the punk scene for 13 years now, traveling and playing with some of the best-known punk bands in the world. And if you've gone through even this little amount of hurt, and what I've gone through it's not little, but comparatively to some of my friends, what I've gone through is nothing compared to, the abuse and the sexual abuse and the abandonment and then the things they've gone through. And the Lord was just kind of like, you can get to that point. Think of where some of these guys are at. And all of a sudden, I realized I was a minnow swimming in a room with sharks. And I was like, oh man, the world is a lot more dangerous than I thought it was. And I realized that and I'm a big guy, I'm huge actually to some people's standards. And there's such a level of hurt that needs to be ministered to. And I think the whole situation in hindsight now, I can look back and I can almost thank the Lord for going through it so that I can understand pain and be able to love people more than I ever have before. I think that's something that the Lord has given me out of this. To people that are going through it, like you had asked, it's never too late to turn back and to understand God's heart for you. I think sometimes we're really quick to blame God and say, you hate me. When in reality, he's doing something that is a good work inside of us, not to harm us, but it's because it's for our betterment. And I can definitely stand here as an example of a guy who was very naive to the needs of other people. I tried. I just didn't know. And because of the scenario that the Lord allowed me to go through, I can better relate. My pride can be killed a lot easier now than it used to be. And that's a good thing. A broken man is the one that has been, I'm going to steal this quote, but the broken man is the one that's been ground on the wheels of life, and still is standing. I'm paraphrasing it, but life will tear you up, and it will spit you out, and the only security that I have been able to find in the midst of being completely abandoned and completely alone is God's love and God's grace. One thing I did was I dove into leading at my church. I dove into serving and spending time there, working on painting jobs and helping to just, when all of this started, my whole church started going through major problems. friends of mine walked out on on their families. Older saints that were in our church died like within a 2 weeks notice, just passed away, and they were like pillars in our church. So we went through a lot as a group, and but the Lord really did a big work, and he's still doing some really awesome things, and his faithfulness is pretty incredible. And I know people that don't even believe in God that have gone through difficult things like I have, and they don't even believe in him. So it's not like, it's not like it doesn't happen to everybody.
Right.
It's just how we respond and how we choose to look at the Lord and have him relate to us in our need.
Right.
That will define how we can either become bitter or we can be better. We can take the big mound of manure that life will give us, and we can say, that's going to sit there and it's going to stink, and it's going to make me smell bad because I live next to it. Or we can say, Lord, here's my pile of manure. Take it, use it as fertilizer to create something new and beautiful. And I think that's in front of all of us whenever we face something difficult. And so that's the very long response to your very intentional question.
And I mean, I've always felt that when a songwriter and a musician artist is going through their hardest times, that they write some of their strongest music, some of the best music that fans connect with the most. And I think that, by coming out of what you've come out of, by writing this record, so many people are going to be affected and touched and helped by it than anybody will ever know. And it's just absolutely beautiful what's come out of the hard times that you've had to go through to get to now. And it's just whether someone's listening just for a musical experience or to connect with lyrics, somebody's going to get something really great out of this record. And thank God you got through everything that you had to go through to get to this.
Yeah. I will say, here's kind of a neat element to the 610 story. The day we released our first little EP, we had everybody over at my apartment, and we handmade all the packages, and we still do that first EP. It's still for sale. It's the first 6 songs we ever wrote, and the day that we were to release that, it was a real exciting time, was the day that my divorce papers came in the mail. And the Lord knew what he was doing. He allowed me to have a day of real joy and having a lot of good friends around me for that very dreaded day to come, and to allow me to just be able to focus on something else and not have to go through all of the emotional insanity that I was dealing with. He gave me a real grace in that. So I thought it was really weird that same week it all happened on the same week, and there's really that's grace in life for sure.
Yeah, that's just crazy how that happened like that, but it was planned, obviously.
Yeah,
I mean,
very much so.
That's crazy, man. So I mean, the rest of 2015, which is crazy that we're in 2015. I can't even get used to saying 2015. But what does this year look like? What does this year look like for you? And not just with 610, but with you yourself.
Well, I've been. Let's see here. I'm working as a church leader at my church, and the church has been going through a lot of changes in good ways, a lot of forward motion, and so I'm going to be involved there. 610's going to play a bunch of shows, obviously. The album just came out, so I'm going to play behind it and stuff. We're going to be playing. I'm going to be going to Audio Feed, which is in Illinois. Great follow-up festival, the Cornerstone. Yes. Amazing time, amazing place. I always look forward to that. Playing the shows with Flatfoot is going to be great. I'm looking forward to continuing. I started dating a girl this year.
Awesome.
Last summer. It was an absolute blessing. She's actually going to be playing a little bit with 610. She's a percussionist and an amazing singer. She's got a crazy awesome voice. And so and that's I'm excited to continue our relationship and pursue her in a godly way, and so I'm excited. And the Lord brought that about too. There's some really neat elements to meeting her that were just very much Him, and kind of both had just life experiences that were really character defining, and that was really good. So, but yeah, I'm going to be playing, hanging out, trying to figure out how to promote a record that, when doing it all independently, in a world that is intent on being oversaturated with musicians. So
yeah,
that's kind of my mission.
It's going to be
doing radio interviews is always a good idea for that, you know.
It's going to be fun, though. I mean, an independent record, I mean, you're able to do it, you know, DIY, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's all you. I mean, you don't have anybody really telling you how to do your stuff, which is really the whole point in being an artist, really.
Absolutely.
You know, which is great. So
it's definitely cool. It's definitely, and just to be fair to the fans, have been really, all my old friends have just been absolutely supportive as all get out, and it's been really neat to see that.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, man, the album came out so good. I mean, there's not a bad song on the album, which is hard to find these days. I mean, these days you have at least one or two songs that's like, I can skip past that one. But this one is, you listen to it from beginning to end, it flows beautifully and perfectly from beginning to end. I mean, all the way through. It's just, and it's a great change of pace, like I talked about earlier. It's just, you know, it's just well done. So
thank you very much, my friend.
Definitely.
It was neat to be able to. We recorded the whole record in my house. We have a studio upstairs that we built, that Michael, our bass player, built, and we all kind of live in a house that's 3 apartments in one building, and so it's been neat to be able to create, and we've been having a lot of fun. I'm thinking of doing something. I don't know if this will ever work, but for part of our Kickstarter, where we offered the ability to write a jingle for somebody, and that's been an absolute joy, just to write short songs for people on whatever they want to be written about, and we've been recording them and sending them out. And, we've done coffee companies, we've done awning companies, we've written songs about guys' wives, you know, that they wanted to write for them. It's just been fun. It's been really cool. It's fun just to come up with something. So
that is awesome. So I mean, so many Kickstarters, the perks and the rewards are generic and they're all the same. That's original. That is awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting thing for sure.
Man, Tobin, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me. I've taken up much more of your time than I planned. I'm sorry. Hopefully I can catch 610 on the road, because I absolutely love the project.
Yeah, definitely.
Man, good luck on 2015. Congratulations on everything, personally and musically and professionally. It's great to talk to you. So
pleasure, my friend. Looking forward to seeing you soon.
Definitely, man. Keep in touch and have a great night.
All right, God bless.
See ya.